This episode may contain content that could be distressing or objectionable to certain listeners. Please refer to the episode show notes for details. Discretion is advised. Hello! Welcome to Your Movie, My Movie with Dan and Steve.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Steve. Also with us today are writer and not-so-silent partner of the podcast, Sierra.
I'm Sierra.
This is a podcast where one of us picks a movie to watch and we discuss it together. In this episode, we're talking about one of my picks, the 1995 movie White Man's Burden, starring John Travolta, Harry Belafonte, Tom Bauer, Margaret Avery, and Kelly Lynch, and was written and directed by Desmond Nakano, or Nakano. We will be talking about spoilers, so if you want to watch the movie first, now's the time to do so. But before we talk about the movie, Dan, who would you recommend this movie to?
Thanks for asking, Steve.
You're welcome, Daniel.
I would recommend this movie to comfortable white boomers. And honestly, me, which I feel really weird about saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll get into that later.
Okay.
Just know I'm already sorry.
Okay.
Steve.
No.
Oh.
Sierra.
You did this last time.
We didn't talk about it this time.
I feel like I should have been implied.
I'm sorry.
I always go last. You always go first. I always go last.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It is okay.
I wasn't trying to leave you out.
It's okay.
Okay.
I wasn't. I'm just used to my natural pattern, which is me and then Steve.
Yeah.
No worries. It's okay.
And also, I'm looking at Steve. I'm not looking at you because you're right next to me.
Fair enough. That's okay. I forgive you. It's all right.
Thank you.
You're going to be so anxious this whole episode.
Yes.
I would recommend this to those who are enjoyers of reverse race play.
Okay.
And like white people who want to feel like a little bit of victimhood,
Mm-hmm.
who like were fearful after Obama was elected in 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steve,
Yes, Daniel.
who would you recommend this movie for?
I will recommend. Oh wow, y'all are looking at me.
Well, you are talking, so.
I won't look.
Well, I feel like maybe I should just do the safe play in here, and
No
for now.
one's safe, Stephen.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding.
Well, if nobody's safe, well then I'm gonna say.
No, it's fine. You're safe. This is a safe space. This is your home.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I don't know.
But you picked this movie.
Yeah, what do you think was going to
Stay with your
happen?
chest, Steve.
Yeah, there you go.
I recommend this movie who want an honest, if not truthful, depiction of the experience of African American people back in the 90s. That's my recommendation for this movie.
Okay. All right. You got your work cut out for you, Steve.
I'm going to be fighting for my life on this show.
Yes.
I mean, maybe not as much as you expect to. You know?
No, at least against Daniel. I feel like he's really gonna.
I'm digging in.
He's gonna try to beat my
Okay.
ass with this. And I
Okay.
refuse.
Well, that's why I feel like maybe I should play moderator between you two
Okay.
for this episode. So,
Steven,
yes, Sierra.
when you were teasing this movie to me, I was under the impression that either I had already seen this movie or that I hadn't, but I would thoroughly enjoy it.
Okay.
And I will say that for the first 30 minutes,
Okay.
this movie is like an hour, 36 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
For the first 30 minutes, I was so for it. I was like, okay, sure, this is going to be great, right? The whole rest of the movie, I wanted to beat your ass.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I did not write this. I did not direct this. I had nothing to do with this movie.
But you teased it as if it was something that you thought I was going to enjoy. And you were right for 30 minutes.
No, he did not. No, he did not.
You didn't?
I did not expect you to enjoy this movie. I thought y'all were going to hate this movie, which is why I'm so surprised that Daniel apparently is going to choose to defend it.
I'm defending it. I don't know if I... Okay. I have mixed feelings about it, but I am defending it.
Okay.
Who is asking you to?
Well, I feel like I already said I am.
Because when I talked about this with Dan, I was like, I don't know if we're gonna have an episode after this.
You said you thought we might stop the podcast at one point.
yeah. Like
we might need to stop the podcast.
Yeah, or maybe this is the last time we do African American History Month as one of the holidays. So no, I was full of I was as anxious and full of trepidation as Daniel usually is on a regular day.
Well, then I take that back.
Okay. No, the reason why I was giddy, I was giddy about this.
Yes.
But I'm a shit stirrer.
You are. If you could get paid for it, you'd be a billionaire.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to know how in the whole high hell did they get Harry Belafonte to do this movie?
Mm-hmm.
He read the script.
Yeah.
He said, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? Like, did he owe somebody something?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, I hate the whole movie.
Okay.
I feel like, I don't want to say it shouldn't have been made, because I also wouldn't have, because there are parts that are, the concept is decent. Execution, piss poor.
Okay.
It's laughable.
Okay.
And I enjoyed laughing at the absurdity of this film, so I don't want to say I wish it was never made. But, Harry Belafonte is not, like an unknown name, Like, how do you get someone like that to do this shit stain of a film in 1995? Like, it blows my mind.
Okay. You're getting way ahead of us.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So, now's the part where we need to do the. Okay.
Jeez.
Okay.
Now's the part where we need to do the 2-minute warning, where we talk about the plot, but only for 2 minutes. Is that going to be... Now, we've only done it for your movie so far, but do you want that to be your shtick from now on, Daniel?
Or
do you want it to be where whoever picks the movie does the 2-minute warning?
What do you think, Sierra?
I think whoever picks the movie.
I think it should be Daniel's stick. I mean, I have my opening shtick. So.
I can't decide.
Okay.
Well,
you're the tiebreaker here.
God damn. No, y'all have to deliberate again. Go ahead.
Daniel, it should be your shtick. Let Daniel have his shtick. Here. It's funny when he tries to explain movies. Especially when he only has 2 minutes to do so.
I feel like it hurts him to his core.
That's okay. I have no problem with that,
though. Do you feel comfortable doing it with this one?
Okay.
Okay. All right. I believe in you.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe in you too.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay.
Setting an alarm
Okay.
for 2 minutes.
Right.
So it'll go off.
Okay.
It might be loud.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Why are you covering your mouth?
I'm trying not to burp out.
Oh, okay. All right. Here goes nothing.
Okay.
Gosh, this is going to be hard. All right. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So, John Travolta. I don't remember his name. I'm going to call him John.
Mm-hmm.
John works at a factory. Also, this is a world where basically black people and white people have switched roles in American U.S. society. Okay. John Travolta works in a factory. His boss asks him to do a favor and deliver a package to a wealthy black man. And John does this. In the backyard of the black man's house, where he's trying to go into like what would be the servants' quarters, basically the servants' entrance. And John Travolta sees, I'll just call him Harry because I don't remember this character's name. Well, actually, I think it's like, anyways, Harry's wife, Harry Belafonte's wife, is changing. So Harry Belafonte sees him and thinks that he is a peeping Tom. So Harry asks John's boss to send a different delivery boy next time. And John gets fired immediately. And John loses his job, and his wife and kids and him get evicted from his house by the police. And he basically ends up kidnapping Harry and trying to get the money that he thinks Harry owes him, which, because Harry basically got him fired in a roundabout way. And so, twists and turns. I'm going way too slow. John ends up sacrificing himself to save Harry in the end, after they become friends in a way, while also doing what is it called? The whenever you kidnap people, make friends with each other with their captors. And my time is up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're thinking of Stockholm?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
wasn't super good. Wasn't super exciting.
It's okay.
I went pretty slow this time.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's fair.
It's okay. But I mean, that was the basis of the plot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They become friends, and white people and black people can get along now. Is that what this means?
No.
With a gun to your head, racists can get along. Fuck this movie.
So, Steve.
Yes, Daniel.
Why did you pick this movie?
I'm so glad you asked, Daniel. And I blame Sierra.
What the fuck?
Again, this year, we're celebrating African American or Black History Month.
Black History Month. Just call it Black History.
Okay. I try to be sensitive, Daniel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard, but I'm making that effort. So we decided to celebrate Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my pick for that because I think this movie, as I said, shows the plight and the hardships of the African American community in the United States, back in the 90s, and 35 years later, some things haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also people are trying to revert back to it and make it even worse nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I thought this was, this is a relatively obscure movie. It was a lot obscure about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But as of recording, it's been talked about, a lot on YouTube for some weird reason. So it's making a weird comeback.
Well, it's an election year.
What's that?
I said, well, it's an election year
That's true. That's true.
when we're recording this.
Yeah, yeah. So, in this movie, this is an HBO original movie, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why it's the 4:3.
That's what I was wondering.
Aspect ratio.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
For some reason, that makes everything make sense.
Yeah.
It makes
Everything
much
makes
more
sense.
sense.
Yeah.
So did it ever get a theater release?
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I do not know that. However, if you go to Max, which is HBO's streaming service, and you look for this movie, it's not going to be there.
No.
They haven't even put it on Blu-ray. There's only the DVD release for it that you can get.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Problematic, you might say.
Is it?
We're going to talk about it.
Okay. Well, let's just ask the big question right now. Is this movie racist?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
You go first.
Me first? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, I could have some wavering ground, but I'm just going to say flat out no because it's more interesting.
Okay.
But right now, I'm thinking no. And one of the things that makes my point clearer in my mind is outside. We usually take a 15-minute break after watching the movie and recording the podcast, and we try not to talk about the movie, but sometimes we can't help it.
Yeah.
So the movie Green Book was brought up, which I haven't seen.
I have not seen it either. I've only seen the scene that makes me not want to watch the rest of that movie.
I've seen clips, parts of the movie, because someone in my house was watching it.
It was not me.
Did that person like it?
I think so.
Okay.
So, the concept of the Green Book is a classic race reversal movie where wherein I believe there's a chauffeur for a famous black pianist, and the chauffeur is white, which is typically the job back then, or sometimes the job of black men or people with lower socioeconomical status. So the movie is like, whoa, the roles are reversed. It's the black guy has to see how hard the white guy's life is, even though the black guy has his own struggles. The white guy also has struggles. That's not exactly what this movie is saying. I think
that's not which movie is that?
White Man's Burden.
Okay.
I think that White Man's Burden takes much more of the side of black people than the Green Book does.
Okay.
Because the point of the Green Book is to say, wow, they can come together, they can be friends, they can realize that they both have it hard. At least that's what my perceived image of the point of it is. This movie is, wow, look at how basically ignorant white people are, and how bad black people have it in America and the US. Because this is a really interesting thing where they basically did a double role reversal. Because I don't know what movie this is based off of, but it feels like it's a parody of another movie. It feels like I've seen the other movie before. Not necessarily maybe with a black man and a white man, but maybe with like two people, one of lower class or socioeconomical status than the other. I just don't remember exactly. I can't remember right now a movie like that.
Well,
There's a bunch of them.
There's a bunch of them. Trading Places is with
Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
That's probably the most famous. But there's also another one with Denzel Washington, and he's the guy from, I think it's the show Just Shoot Me, and The Terminal Man, which is a movie adaptation of a Michael Crichton book. And looking at me like, how can I not know the name of the actor while I know about the movie The Terminal Man? But anyway, it's about a white guy, and he had a son who's Denzel Washington, and then Denzel Washington grows up without him, but when he grows up, he goes to meet him, and then, hijinks ensue. So there's, a lot of movies like that.
Gotcha.
But this movie is really...
Well,
okay, go ahead.
Another one is Watermelon Man, which is way back in I believe it's in like the 50s or 60s. It's a black and white movie.
It sounds familiar.
It's about a white man who wakes up black one day.
Yes. I know what you're talking
and then
about.
he, lives the African American experiences back then. But what it is the actor was African American, and he basically put on whiteface for the beginning of the movie, and then took it off, and then there you go. But there's also the reversal of that movie from the 80s, which is Soul Man.
Yes.
Which is about a preppy white kid who was expecting their rich parents to pay for them to go to like Yale or Harvard. But they said they're not going to do it because they want him to, learn how to earn for himself. So what he does is he takes experimental tanning pills to look like a black man, and then gets a scholarship there meant for African American people. So yeah, there's...
Love it.
Wonderful. That was sarcasm.
So yeah, there's a lot of these movies.
But that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about the movie... it's not even necessarily... maybe it is, but I haven't seen any of those movies, so I can't say for sure.
Okay.
But I'm like, mainly it's that I'm thinking of 16 Blocks a little bit, but that's not it either.
Okay.
Which I probably will make you watch eventually because
I have never seen that movie.
It is really good.
Okay.
But anyways, okay. I'm mainly thinking of just a movie where a poor guy kidnaps a rich guy.
Okay.
And in that, it's a kind of role reversal because it's like a power shift almost. Man.
Well, they even say that in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel now that I have power over you?
Yes.
Like, that's almost a direct quote from the movie. So
yeah. And I feel like I'm losing my train of thought. And
I'm sorry.
No, not your fault. It's my fault. So I guess what I mean by a double role reversal is that in the plot, if you ignore people's skin color completely, then what would typically be a white man getting kidnapped by a black man, and we follow the hardships of his life. Oh man, now I'm getting way lost.
I think there is a movie where that happens with Martin. What's his name? Is it Martin Lawrence?
Martin Lawrence, yeah.
And Tim Robbins.
Really?
Yeah. Where Tim Robbins thinks that his wife had an affair on him, and then Martin Lawrence, is that him who's in
Bad Boys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And he plays like I think he plays like a carjacker, so he tries to carjack Tim Robbins, and then Tim Robbins goes crazy and like just takes him on for a ride, and now they're both criminals and they're buddy.
Okay.
But you don't seem to have seen that either.
Nope.
Okay.
So it's just interesting, okay, because this movie is, the protagonist appears to be John Travolta, right? And it is, well, actually, it's weird. Okay, because it's so hard to talk about.
You can have dual protagonists in a movie.
Yeah. Okay. Our protagonists are Harry Belafonte and John Travolta, and who you typically be rooting for in this movie is Well, okay. This is. I'm really sorry that I'm struggling so much to talk about it, but this movie doesn't usually do it this way. What I mean by this type of movie doesn't usually do it this type of way. It usually stays on the rich guy's perspective. It would play him as the family man who has struggles. Man, I feel like I lost my clarity completely. But
even though he's white and he's wealthy, he has problems too.
Right, he's white. He's white and he's wealthy, but he's a good guy and he loves his family and he cares about them. And
it's not his fault that there are systemic problems in the United States that other people must suffer from.
Right. He's just trying to do what he does best and run a business well. And,
well, he's not even running the business. He just owns the business, apparently. But yeah.
He's just trying to live a happy life with his family, off secluded in a gated community.
With his maid.
And then his life gets interrupted by a black man or someone from a lower socioeconomical standpoint, but especially a black man. And then we follow along and we start to empathize for the black man's plight and what's going on in his life. But we usually would do it through the eyes of the white protagonist.
Right.
And we kind of see those struggles. And we would see as the white guy starts to empathize with him, and
then the audience comes to empathize with him as well.
Yes. And but then in this hypothetical movie, the black man would be still like aggressive. And it would seem kind of unfair because the white guy is really trying to help him out, even though he's the one being held at gunpoint. He's really trying to understand and help the black guy. But in the end of the movie, we'd root for the black guy again because the black guy would stand up and save the white guy's life. In this movie, it's not like that. But this is the weird thing about it. It's that, obviously it's weird. They make it a point to have John Travolta be the person who would typically be the role of the black man. He is the one who is struggling to work in the system dominated by, in this instance, black people. So it's kind of like watching that movie I just described, that hypothetical movie, with the races reversed.
Right.
And so that is extremely effective in making you see the world in a different way, in my opinion. It's janky and it's 90s and it's John Travolta's blackcent, which I'm sure we'll get into, which I did not like about this movie.
Okay.
But I think it does a really effective job of making you see the flaws of that hypothetical movie that so many people have seen over and over again. And it's a commentary on that. And I think it does a good job of that. Because, again, how I said earlier, and again, forgive me that I'm taking so long, but this is my point of the whole defense of the movie.
Well, I think when we're talking about this movie, sometimes we need to be about, especially me and you, very careful.
Yes. Yes. And again, I'm going to bring it back to the Green Book. The Green Book is saying, everybody's happy, we can all get along, we all have hardships.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about if you're black or white, it's about how poor you are, maybe. I haven't seen the movie completely, but that's one of the themes, I think. And this movie is saying more than that. It's saying that that white people don't understand, again, that the difficulties black people have to face. And yeah, I spent the whole time rooting for John Travolta, which I'm not sure if you were supposed to or not. I think you were, but again, in that hypothetical movie, you would have not been rooting for John Travolta necessarily. You would have been rooting for Harry Belafonte's character, because the black character in the hypothetical movie would have been too quote unquote like extreme, almost
a caricature of a person.
Yes, but he would have been too aggressive.
Yeah.
In the hypothetical movie, because we can't just have people kidnapping people with guns. Society has to go on. You have to uphold the laws of society, and you can't get away with everything. But this movie is saying there's a problem with that society, in a deeper way. So then, does that make sense to both of you? Can you sit here? Does that make sense to you as well?
I think.
Okay.
Do you want me to keep talking about it, or do you want to give your point now?
I would love to.
We can pass it to Sierra.
Sounds
Sierra?
Is this movie racist?
Yeah, that's the question.
Yes.
Yeah. That's your answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so in the very beginning, we see Harry Belafonte and his family, very affluent. They have a white
maid.
A white maid, yeah. And they're talking about business and society during dinner, and I wish I had remembered what Harry Belafonte's character says, but he describes white people in this society, how white people describe black people in our society. And I was like, oh, this movie's about to fucking eat, right? But then you go on through the film, and race literally plays no fucking part in the entire film. It literally is all about like rich and poor. To me, that's how it seemed. It literally made no sense for it to be race-based whatsoever. Like at all. Like, yes, there was it's like more of a power struggle, which power isn't inherently white. So like, I felt like that was kind of bullshit for them to give like this to try to execute this concept in this way. Because they literally could have done it without, you know what I mean? And that really pissed me off, because I thought what I was going to get was a true like race reversal. We're going to see the oppression of white people,
but as black people,
right?
Yeah.
And that was, I thought that's what we were going to get, and see how that would work out in an alternative society. But I think because of the society we live in our reality, it's so fucking impossible to imagine that. Because literally all they said was like, oh, rich people, black people are all rich, and then white people are all poor. When that's not necessarily the case for this reality at all. So this whole movie was basically a battle between like rich affluence and poor people trying to get their buck. You know what I mean? That's all it was. So the fact that they put race in it kind of screwed it up for me a little bit. And I don't know, it seemed so irresponsible and just poorly done. It was fucking stupid. And I was just, I don't know, I was very disappointed. I do feel like it's racist because the fact that race didn't need to be a thing in this movie whatsoever. The whole race reversal wasn't necessary.
Okay.
I don't know what they were trying to do with that.
Can I account for that?
Sure.
Because this is what happened in 1995.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of context, I feel, that needs to be understood with this movie.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so my thing about this movie, I said why I picked this. It's a show. The plight of African American communities, especially. But I specifically said back in 1995, and the reason why I said that was because that's when a lot of systemic racism was, and it's happening now.
Yeah,
but it was worse then, and that's what it's showing.
Right.
Because because back then is when they started. What's it called? Affirmative action.
Yeah.
And what affirmative action is it's very poorly misunderstood. Mm-hmm. But what it is if you have two candidates for employment who have equal ability, you choose the one of the ethnic minority. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because there has been systemic racism for so long that what happens is it's very hard to enter into a higher socioeconomic class.
Right. And
a lot of that is inherited. Mm-hmm. Middle class parents usually produce middle class children.
Right.
And so what affirmative action is because there's so much systemic racism for so long, it is to help ethnic minorities enter into higher socioeconomic classes.
Right.
So that, when you get these first generation doctors and, scientists, teachers, professors, even managers, corporate executives, their children will be capable of being in that higher economic class as well because they were born into it. Mm-hmm. They have the mannerisms, the behavior, the higher education for it. And that will lift up and that will make the economic pie a lot more diverse. Mm. So we'll have more more wealthy. The wealthy class will be more diverse. Right. The middle class will be more diverse, and the poor. Well, they're always diverse.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but back then, mm-hmm. It wasn't like that.
Right.
And so, you say that, this movie, it only showed poor versus wealthy, but back then, especially, poor and wealthy had a lot to do with race.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like, if they had, shown Black people in different classes
in
this movie, maybe I'd let it slide, but they didn't.
Maybe this should be a TV show.
Oh, good God.
But, but the other thing is back in the 90s, that's when media about lower middle class white people were becoming popular because that's when we got Roseanne,
right,
which was the big one that started that.
Exactly.
And Grace Under Fire, which was another one that showed that. So that's when that was just starting, to say, hey,
but people got it bad too sometimes.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
So yeah, there's that context that needs to be made about that. But I think another piece of context that needs to be understood is, I talk about the systemic racism. Mm-hmm. And you can see that when they watch television.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because who's on TV?
Black people.
It's all Black people.
It's all Black people.
Only Black people.
Yeah. Only Black people.
They only have one white guy, and who is he?
Was he getting arrested?
He was a suspect. He was a suspect for a crime.
Yes.
On the news with Black anchor.
Yes.
And that has changed tremendously.
Yeah.
Because, news channels now, they're a rainbow coalition.
Because they have to put in, a front, I would say. Partially.
Okay.
For appearances, partially, I would say.
Yes, but they also need to serve, they want to serve, all the markets. Mm-hmm. And people relate to people of their own race.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
representation.
Yeah. Representation. Mm-hmm. So that's why they're doing it. But it's still being done. Back then, fuck that,
Right.
And also another thing that's very telling, mm-hmm. is when John Travolta's son has to pick out
That's toy.
his action figure for his birthday.
Yeah.
Which one does he get?
The black one.
Yeah, Chroma Man.
Chroma Man.
Yeah. And that goes back to what is it? Versus the Board of Education?
Brown
versus Board of Education. Because that struck down separate but equal.
Yes.
Because segregation was allowed on the basis that it was separate but equal, and so equal resources were given to African Americans as well as white people.
Right.
But just the separation alone still caused social problems.
Exactly.
And one of the ways they figured that out was they took African American children and they gave them a white doll,
and
a black doll, and asked them which one they wanted, and they always got the white doll.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, can I respond to yours? Go ahead.
I feel like there's so much more I want to say.
Okay.
But I just can't think of it. Bad.
Okay.
I was going to say, I agree with you as far as the plot did not need these two people to be black or white. But the point of the movie needed it to be black and white. Because I think the point of the movie is to make you see race in a different way.
Maybe it's just because I'm black.
Well,
and I'm a black woman in America. But literally, it felt so lazy. So maybe people who who have not witnessed or are not, who don't fully grasp the I guess disproportionate struggle, I guess, between black people and white people, or just people of color in general and white people, especially in America. Like, I guess this was like a good movie for them, which I don't hate that for you. Obviously, that's fine. But maybe just because I'm black and watching this movie, I was like, this is fucking okay. Like,
well, there are 2 points I want to make. Remind me of my second point if I don't get to it. Okay, so the first point I want to make is that this movie is what I call the Roddenberry effect. Okay.
Okay.
Gene Roddenberry, he created Star Trek, the original series. Okay. Back in the 70s.
Right.
And that TV show, in regards to race and social relations, that was very ahead of its time.
Yes.
For example, it had the first interracial kiss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who can forget it?
Yeah. And so when that happened, okay. So it was on syndication.
Yes.
So it didn't air on a network. Individual TV stations chose to air it.
Right.
And in the South, they heard about it and they were threatening to boycott it.
Yes.
So what the studio did, Desilu Studios.
Yes.
The studio started by Desi and Lucy Arnaz, or Lucille Ball.
Yes. I love this story. I love this story.
So what they were going to do is they were going to shoot 2 kisses. One where they showed William Shatner kissing Nichelle Nichols.
Nichelle Nichols, yes.
Okay. So when William Shatner, they're going to show they're going to.
It's okay.
They're going to record 2 versions of the shot of William Shatner kissing Nichelle Nichols. Okay, in one they were going to actually show the kiss, and in the other, like, William Shatner was like going to like hide.
Yeah, he's going to like swoop her and like hide her from the camera.
Yeah. So they got the shot of them showing the kiss on camera. But for the second version where he hides, William Shatner fucked the shots up on purpose. On purpose, yes. So they couldn't use it.
Like, they did it multiple times and he kept putting it up on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it got too late and, they just had to move on because it was a TV show back in the day. So, and that's how they worked. So they were forced to show that. Okay. And yeah, the Southern racists, pitched a fit.
Yeah.
But another example is there's an episode of Star Trek where the crew comes across aliens from a planet.
Mm-hmm.
One's a criminal, and the other is like the policeman hunting him down.
Yeah.
Okay. And one side is white, and the other side is black. But it's reversed for the policeman. So when they come on board the ship and he wants to arrest him, Kirk is like, "Why? What's he done?" And he's like, "Well, he's one of those bad people." He's like, "Why? He looks just like you." And he's like, "He looks nothing like me. He has white on the right side and black on the left side. I'm white on the left side, and he's black on the other side." So that episode went, to show the stupidity of racism, or of judging people based on their color,
Right.
which had to be done back in the 70s because it was so bad. So it's like, sometimes you need those role reversals for the really stupid people who just can't get it otherwise.
Oh, the soft
like
thinkers.
Me.
Soft thinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you're not a soft thinker.
I feel soft thinkers sometimes.
It's just okay. That's why I'm here. And like I get that. I don't think.
Go for it.
I should have looked this up before, but the writer of the movie. What color?
Japanese.
Yes, he's Japanese. he's third generation Japanese American. That's what I was going to say. About how the iceberg for this movie goes even deeper.
That's
insane. Okay, this is actually so insane.
Because that's what. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go for it.
I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I do this all the time, and I'm sorry. But that's what. While I was watching this movie, I was like, okay, it's racist if a white person wrote it, and if it's not a white person, then it's not racist. That's how I was basing it. That's what I said in my head. When I watched it.
I'm fucking dumbfounded. However, I will not let my foot off that bitch's neck. Cause motherfucker, are you crazy? Writing this film in general was fucking crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Beyond the race shit, it was just fucking boring.
Fair.
It was just not a good movie, in my opinion. But then to make the universe be a role reverse of two races that you are not, and that you've only witnessed from the outside, is a little gnarly to me. Okay. It's a little gnarly to me. If a white person made this, fuck you. If a black person made this, I'm so sorry, what's wrong with you? And for it to be a completely different race, it's kind of crazy to me. Because it's like, what?
Well, now me and Dan really can't say.
Now I really can't say shit.
Because it's just like,
but I still might try.
Not that like a who are you to write a movie like this if you don't? But it's also kind of like, yeah, like who? Maybe yes, because obviously people who are not white who live in the United States, which is the only place I'll speak on, could never do that. Because it's not my place.
Right. Fair. Fair.
Which again, if that's problematic, I apologize. Maybe I'll have a different mindset later on in life. I am just a little girl, but I don't know. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Okay. So the second point I wanted to make, was this movie came out in 1995. Okay. Let me look up real quick. Okay. So this is 3 years after the Rodney King riots in LA.
Yes, I knew you were going to bring that up.
Yeah, well, you can't
not talk about the 80s or the 90s without talking about the
and you can't talk about, a movie set in LA specifically
without bringing up Rodney King.
Yeah, because holy shit. Hollywood was affected by it. Like
100%.
All these actors and directors, they saw the riots themselves. Like they were in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And so that's why favorite of the show, Strange Days, you know, that invoked, you know, the 90s riots in a lot of different ways. And so basically, the reason why I bring that up is because that explains the horrific monologue that Harry Belafonte says at the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
That's what elicited it. You know, I guarantee it.
Oh, sure. It
sounds like something like Rush Limbaugh said at some point.
You know what's so bad is I was thinking about the Rodney King thing like whilst watching the movie, and I was like, where's the high-speed car chase? I need it so bad, and I never fucking got it, and it makes me so upset. Like, yes, his truck was a piece of clunky shit, but like, give me something. You know what I mean?
They didn't have the budget for it. They did not have the budget for it.
Man. They didn't have a budget for a good fucking script either. Sorry. That was rude.
So, you know, when he's talking about, because right before he says that, he's talking about how they burn their own communities and stuff.
That's right on the fucking nose. Yeah. Hate this movie.
Can I say how it helps me in a way?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I admit the full white guilt and white cringe. I accept it, and I'm sorry. But I grew up in Texas, the South. I had like 2 black friends probably, and they were not my closest friends, but like I just saw them as friends, you know. But I didn't get exposure to like black people's culture and their lives and the way they live, and this is I'm saying they very blanketing. But you know what I'm saying? I didn't have that exposure to other races, other ethnicities, other than basically white people. However, I did grow up on a missionary campus too, so it's a weird mix. But again, that missionary campus was mainly run by white people.
Yeah.
And that missionary, there's like one black person, who was a part of that missionary campus on staff at least. Everyone else was, they were other races other than white, but again, only like one black person that I remember being on staff. So, I didn't grow up with a lot of exposure to black culture. So there are things that I'm still learning, and I'm sure that I'll continue to learn. But and I think my family too could use some help learning those things as well. Because it goes so deep in so many ways that you don't even realize. And I think that's part of the reason why it rang maybe truer for me than it did for you, Sierra. Because again, you said, you know, because you're black, you get it. And it's all obvious to you.
Yeah.
It's all so obvious that it's offensive almost.
Yeah.
Or it is offensive.
Yeah.
And again, to me, I've had time. I went to a high school that was probably primarily black.
Yeah, it's pretty much predominantly black. Yeah.
For the 2 years that I went to high school, the other the rest of my life I was homeschooled. So
extreme culture shock.
Extreme culture shock. Where was I going? Oh yeah, but I've been on a learning journey since moving to Florida, basically from Texas. And it's been a slow journey, but I have learned a lot. Like if you would have asked me, and of course I've also grown up.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit biased there, but if you would have, I think if you would ask some other of my family members who are still grown up, but didn't have the same exposure I had in like past, almost 10 years of living in Florida, they would still be in some of the mindsets that I like to think that I have tried to leave behind. But, you know, when you're raised a certain way, you it's almost like your first instinct is to still think that way.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly. And it takes effort to try and, apply what you've learned to counteract that previous learning.
Right.
And so what I loved about this movie, and again, ignorant white man here, is that it made it harder for those instinctual responses that I grew up having to register. I had to think harder in order to understand the metaphor. It made me uncomfortable because I would forget who was supposed to be the white character and who was supposed to be the black character. And I think that shows me in my mind some areas that I still have to grow in, and some areas that I may never fully be grown in, but that I can be more aware of. Just little things like the TV and the action figure. Those were the more blatant ones. But like, I think just watching it with that perspective in mind, like, I just think I had my gut reactions were different than if it would have been the race had been swapped and it had just been about money.
Yeah.
And it had just been about socioeconomic class and not race as well.
Right.
So I think it was effective in that way.
Okay.
For me, a white person who grew up in a, not exposed to cultures that were black, especially black, mainly white. So I think that's why I like this movie in certain ways. Does that help explain it too?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Do you want to speak, Sarah?
I was gonna say something,
Okay.
and I could be stretching, but the only time where I felt like it was like a true like race reversal was when they went to the bank.
Where Harry Belafonte goes Karen?
Yes. Literally, that was the only time, because like in my head I was like,
he's more upset that the bank teller tells him no than he is about being kidnapped.
He has a fucking gun pointed to his back, and he's being told to get out 3 bands out the fucking bank, and he's more pissed off that the white teller is like, well, I'm closed, and he's like, well, I need the money. He's like, well, bitch, I'm closed. Like, hello, I want to get the hell out of here. And he's like, go get your supervisor, and it's like, if I'm at the window, I am the boss right now. And he's just like, go get your president. Like that. That's the only time where I was just like, I can see that. It's because that's a sort of entitlement.
You know what's fucked up? Because I know this is what he had planned on doing. Okay, so Harry Belafonte, he's got a lot of money. He owns, the chocolate factory.
Yeah.
Chocolate factory.
Yeah.
But, and so he goes to the bank and he's like, he doesn't tell him I want to see your super. He says, I want to see the president of this bank.
President of this bank.
And the teller says, well, at this window, I'm the president.
Yes.
So I know what Harry Belafonte is going to do after that. As soon as it's Monday, he's going to go and talk to the president because he has a fucking fortune in that bank that the bank needs. And then he's going to get that teller fired.
Exactly.
That's exactly what he had planned.
Yep.
But that's kind of what he did to John Travolta.
Exactly. Yes. So. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Also, I kind of like the touch of the chocolate factory because if I'm not, was it nougat?
Yes.
Okay.
White nougat.
So white nougat.
Oh, white nougat with
the chocolate over it.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. The second I saw that, I was like, I immediately kind of raised an eyebrow.
This is not a subtle movie.
No, it is.
There is no subtlety in this movie.
Not even for like the absence of subtlety, but I was like, this is not for Black people. This movie is not for me.
Okay.
Like immediately I clocked it, and then I just was let down every other minute. I will say one thing I did like about the movie.
Okay.
Was which I liked how the Black people looked. And I know this is gonna sound crazy, but first of all, a lot of dark skin in this movie.
Yeah.
I couldn't get that now, you know? And so it was fantastic to see dark skinned people not having to fight for their lives, not having to free themselves from massa, not having to scrub somebody's floors, just Black people, dark skinned Black people. God, love it. Mwah. Kisses, right? And then when they're at that gala, that's supposed to help the
Helping Hands Foundation.
Helping Hands Foundation that's supposed to all the proceeds go to the inner city kids.
Yeah.
Who are all white. So funny. Because it was funny. I kept imagining like the inner city kids, even though they mentioned them being white, when they show them on the stage, I was like, it took me a second.
That's why it's crazy, right?
I was like, oh, that's right, they're white, yeah. But at the gala, stunning. The models, gorgeous. The fashion is phenomenal. The hairstyles, the natural hairstyles, and the braided hairstyles blew me the fuck away, dude. I was so happy because even now, still, you cannot get that kind of representation anywhere right now. Very maybe if it's a like an up and coming fashion designer or something like that, or a fashion company buys the looks from a Black or any person of color or who does fashion, whatever. Then they'll have their little representation, fashion show. That's it. That's all you're gonna get, and it's very, very like few and far between. So seeing that was just beautiful. Yeah. I absolutely adored it, and the hairstyles really took me back to like as if I was there, but like the hair shows of like I think from all the way back from the 70s, maybe like hair shows, Black hair shows.
Okay. I know nothing about that. That's the first time I've heard about that. I have to admit something. Yes. I have to admit something.
You're white.
I am white. And this is why I don't know anything about this.
That's okay.
Okay. Is this a safe space?
Yes.
Very safe? Very safe. I know nothing about Black hair.
That's completely okay. I had to teach myself.
I don't know what a weave is. I don't know why Black women wear them. I don't know what they are. It's not for me, but I shave my head. Yeah. Not skinhead head. Yes. Not skinhead shave. Yes. But I've never cared about my hair. So yeah. I don't follow hairstyles. I never did. So it's like I'm just completely out of my element when not just people talk about their hair, but especially African American women. Yes. Okay. So, and actually that does tie into why I really do like the hairstyles in this movie. So Black women always have to worry about their hair because they are discriminated against for their hair. Black people in general, but specifically Black women. If it's not straight, or if you can't put it back in a ponytail and sleek it back or anything like that, it's seen as unkempt and you don't care about yourself. Right. And it's too wild, too crazy, and it pulls too much attention to you. When as a worker, you're not supposed to be the attention the product you're selling is. And so a lot of companies will use that against Black people, specifically Black women, when it comes to the hiring business or promotions or just showing their faces anywhere. There's not a law. And it's called the Crown Act. Okay. I don't know if it's nationwide, but in some states it's a thing called a Crown Act where it says that businesses cannot discriminate against you for your hair. Okay. Which is neat. It is in effect, but there are a lot of places that don't give a fuck about it, like in Texas, where a kid literally just got suspended because he had locks. Okay. And they said take him out, and he's like, literally can't. I grew these out. This is my hair, and they're like, then get the fuck out. It happens. Still, but
so that's why there's such a big thing about Black women's hair. We always have to make sure it looks neat constantly. There can't be any frizz. There can't be one piece of hair, out or anything like that. It has to be perfect in order to get respect. And it's so ingrained into at least American culture that like even within the Black community, women are judged constantly for their hair. Like if I had my braids in now and I had them in for like 2 months, and you can see like my new growth and you can see like it's very, very like frizzy and poofy or whatever and just not looking as neat as it did the first day or the first week, I would get judged for it. Okay. Within my own community. Because it's just so ingrained in us that we have to look perfect. Our hair has to look perfect. And so, and also, sometimes people just want to have straight hair. Black people love having straight hair. we have wigs, we have weaves, we have quick weave. Love a quick weave. But we love to do different things with our hair because we can. Yeah. And that dates, far back, before colonization, really. Okay. So with this movie, at the fashion show at the gala, seeing all the different hairstyles, whether it's just their natural hair out or if there was synthetic hair braided in and the very intricate designs and stuff, like that was so gorgeous to me. And it was funny when the son wait. Oh, sorry.
Let's not get there yet. Okay. Okay. Because one of the things I wanted to mention is because, you like how there's African inspired fashion, basically, in this. And that's because it was made during the mid-90s, right. In 1995, because starting in the early 90s, there was a resurgence of African-American culture where they wanted to look, more to their African roots. Yeah. I know that like dashikis, those started in the 70s, right? Yeah, they made a comeback in the 90s. Yeah. And in the 90s is when like Kwanzaa started. That's when that first started. Or at least that's when it became mainstream. I'll put it to you that way. Yeah. And so there was that big resurgence. And so, that's why I haven't seen Spike Lee movies from the 90s. I've only seen clips. But I know that he has African-American actors wearing those, that style of fashion because it was so hot back in the 90s. And it reminds me of this movie. It's a Whoopi Goldberg movie. It's called Made in America. Do you know the movie? Yeah. Where she plays, one of the, I think she's like an art dealer, in African art. And so, she wears a lot of that African-inspired fashion. And so she's very pro-African. And when she was younger, she got a sperm donor so that she could have her daughter. And so her daughter is grown up. She's about to go to college, but she wants to know who her biological father is. So they look him up. And Whoopi Goldberg was told that, it was this, black man's sperm, when in fact it was Ted Danson.
I forgot about that.
And Ted Danson wears a cowboy hat in the movie. So
good.
And that was when the two of them were dating, I think, Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg. So yeah.
So good.
So yeah, I just wanted to bring up, that African-American Renaissance that happened in the 90s. That's why the fashion in this movie for the African-American actors are the way they are. And now we can get to the best part of the movie, which has no dialogue because it doesn't fucking need it. Barely any. And I laugh whenever I see it, so I was very glad y'all two laughed too because you got the joke.
Look who's coming to dinner.
Who wants to describe the scene?
Okay, all right. So Harry Belafonte, he's already been kidnapped, and his wife is waiting on him at home so they can all go to this gala or fundraiser.
She doesn't know he's been kidnapped yet.
She does not know he's been kidnapped yet, and so first of all, outfit fucking stunning. She's so bad. Oh my gosh, she's so hot. But she hears the front door open and she's already berating her husband. She's just like, I can't believe you're so late, yada yada yada. Like we're supposed to be there now, whatever. And as she barely turns the corner, she sees her son with his white girlfriend named Cheryl. And she's kind of like taken aback a little bit.
She's saying something like she's heard she's heard that it's her son, and so she's in the middle of talking, and as soon as she comes around the corner, she stops talking.
Yes. She stops right in her tracks, and he's like, oh, this is mom, this is my girlfriend Cheryl. And Cheryl's like, oh, it's nice to meet you. Reaches her hand out, and the mom almost like hesitates to, and then like she doesn't know what her expression should be. She wants to smile, but she's also fucking shocked this is happening. She's like, and then they just go to the gala.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
And this is gonna sound so awful.
Okay.
But I do love how like immediately like because you see the white girl. I think she had blue eyes, bright blonde hair. You know, up in a high ponytail with a cuff.
Yeah. So for any of you who want to know what it looks exactly like Madonna.
Yes.
In the 90s when she had the cone bra.
Yes.
With where it's braided in like the little cup, and then the ponytail comes out.
Right.
Yeah.
Very intricate design.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hate on it. It looked really good.
Yeah. It's very 90s, and you know Madonna. Very
90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then right after to go to this gala where it's just like the most gorgeous like. Because also her dress was fucking boring. Her dress looked like a velvet smock, and it did nothing for her complexion.
Like a tile floor pattern to me.
Yeah, it did nothing for her complexion. It was kind of like a pearl color. Like
and it was all just one color, right? There's no accents to it, right?
At all, and it just fit her so poorly. And then to go to this gala where this fashion.
She's also she seems very nice though.
She seems very very nice. Bitch can't dress.
Okay, that's fair.
That was maybe a bad thing. I'm sorry.
What?
I maybe shouldn't have said that about the tile floor pattern. I apologize.
No, the dress was ugly. But then to see like this gorgeous fashion that is not only like amazing with the textures, the patterns, the color, dude. It's not hard to dress Black people, no matter how much people seem to think that it is.
I heard that. No. What was it, to like people?
It's not hard to like Black people.
Oh, what's that show? There was a show, and they had a Black cinematographer, and he was talking about it.
Oh, was it Insecure?
What's the movie? What's the TV show with Zendaya?
Oh, Zendaya. Oh, Euphoria.
It might have been Euphoria, but I'm not sure. I've never seen any of those shows.
Fair.
Or maybe it was like Atlanta or something.
Maybe.
I feel like it was Euphoria.
Okay. But yeah, there was a Black cinematographer has talked about that.
Yeah.
You know, they say, it's so hard to like for Black people. But he's like, no. And, you know, he's a Black person himself. So, yeah.
Because I think I heard the same thing with the cinematographer for Moonlight.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard that same thing. So like it's talked about often because Black people are they're rarely ever cast because it's like, oh, we have to take into account like the lighting and it's gonna take so long to set it up.
Well,
like, and it's just like, and I'm sure in some cases yes, but bitch, like
well,
do your job.
Well, my cinematography teacher taught me that it was easier to light for darker skin.
Yes. But it's not hard to make Black people look good.
No.
Like at all. And so I like that they proved that in this movie. Black people looked so good in this movie. And the only like white girl in the movie looked so bad. like the John Travolta's wife, she was sick. I mean, she's cool. She was fine.
That was Kelly Lynch.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
she's in Roadhouse. The original Roadhouse.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, she looked good, but just that girlfriend just did not look good. It was rough. And there was a thing where like Black people, especially in the 90s, like we love a good earth tone. So everyone's really wearing like earth toned clothing, and then this bright white girl is wearing this like pearl colored like dress, and it was not great.
Okay, I want to show you who the cinematographer of this movie was.
The whitest
looking man.
His name is Willy Courant, and he's from Belgium.
Interesting, because it didn't look bad.
No. I thought the cinematography looked as good as it needed to be. I'll put it to you that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What else do I want to talk about?
Could I?
Oh yes, go. Yeah.
This might be wrong.
Okay.
And false, but this movie didn't do the greatest at lighting like black skin.
Okay.
But it did okay.
Okay.
Like typically, what they used to do is just pour as much light onto black skin as possible.
Yeah.
But maybe I should just stop talking because I don't really know what I'm talking about.
It's up to you.
But I feel like it's easier to light black skin if it's like moisturized and reflective.
Mm-hmm.
And also different colors do show up better than others. But so I was basically just saying that it's not harder, it's just different.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's fair. I mean, white skin can get very overexposed too.
Yes, it can. But the history of cinema is more.
Yeah, it's so the cinematographers know how to light for white people more than darker skin tone.
Yeah. What were you saying?
I was gonna say another thing that I did like about this movie was that the black wife has a soft voice.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that because a lot of times if you see black women in general, but especially a black wife, they're like loud and yelling, and it perpetuates the fucking stereotype of
the sassy, black woman,
sassy, angry black woman, you know. Yeah. But she was like very soft, and I liked that a lot. Like she was speaking to him and like basically threatening his life sometimes because he was being so annoying to her. But she's saying it so lovingly and it's so soft, and it was just nice instead of just being like, "Bitch, if you don't make it to the motherfucker," it was just so. Yeah, I liked that.
But then again, because of the role reversal, the race reversal, how often do you see a sassy white woman wife?
Exactly.
Because
we didn't even get that. We barely got that in this movie either.
Yeah.
Like which they totally could have fucking done that.
It would be like Roseanne.
Right. Exactly. But seeing how they did what Travolta did in this film, I feel like it would have just looked like a caricature of a black woman done by a white woman. Because this blackcent.
Before we get there, because you're talking about the actress who played Harry Belafonte's wife.
Yes.
Her name is Margaret Avery.
Yes.
And she was nominated for an Academy Award for The Color Purple. She was in The Color Purple. She played Shug Avery.
Oh, fuck! That's what she looks familiar.
Yeah.
She's always been so beautiful to me.
I haven't seen The Color Purple.
Oh man, it's a tough watch, but she's amazing in it. Oh my goodness, I love her. And Shug Avery is like low-key one of my favorite characters.
Okay.
Oh, she's so stunning. Love her.
She was also in Meet the Browns.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Oh no, it's okay. Could I say one more thing about her character?
Yeah.
I thought her character was interesting. Okay, this is another reason why I like the movie.
Okay.
Because I felt like they portrayed microaggressions.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a foreign term to me until, again, I moved to Florida.
Okay.
It even a couple years into moving to Florida.
Well, that was probably around the time when they were when microaggressions became mainstream. I think
were being coined and
mainstream.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But the concept was there, if not the language for it.
Yeah. Passive aggressive.
Yeah, but based on race specifically.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
And it's when her character is talking about the inner city children.
Yes.
The cute white children.
Yeah, 50 cute white kids.
They were really cute. but they were a little misbehaved.
Yeah, there was some that were misbehaved, and I was
What does Harry Belafonte?
well, that makes sense. Didn't have a father.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any fathers.
And she's like, I admire your empathy or something like that.
Yeah. Dude, that shit was funny. That was funny.
But like her saying that is something like I've heard before, like about like black kids. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff I've heard before, and I just thought,
well, that's been a trope like
forever.
Oh
yeah, absolutely.
What is it? Pickaninny?
Yeah.
Yeah. That, and then, that was, and that became visual jokes in like Tom and Jerry,
right.
When Tom, got, was on fire.
Yes.
So his body was black like ash. And then he had the little braids, like, the Pickaninny girls.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I do find it funny because like I also was a misbehaved child, or I was coined a misbehaved child. I just like didn't shut the fuck up and I hated sitting still. I'm neurodivergent. Like leave me alone. But also I'm a kid. What kid is like super well behaved? That's like normal. You know what I mean?
Hold on. Mm-hmm. That reminds me of a story.
Oh God.
I'll never forget it. I probably told this to Daniel, but I was in 5th grade. And it was in I went to a private school that was connected to a Southern Baptist church.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
And like once a week we would have...
How many black people were at that school?
Okay, number one, not a lot. This is another conversation, but it's very racist.
Yeah, anyways, I'm sorry.
Let's see. I did have one black student in the class for a very long time. From when I was in kindergarten till I was senior. But we also had more, but some would come in and some would leave. But I did have at least one the entire time, but we never talked. But I also didn't have any friends in school. I didn't make friends until I was in college. And one of them was a black guy. You met him, Daniel.
I can confirm Steve has a black friend.
I remember this story.
Oh, okay. Dan told you about him, huh? Yeah. Okay. Now I'm worried. But anyway. Music. We had like a music class once a week, and it was with this guy who looked like I want to get the name right. He looked like Greg Evigan from My Two Dads, and he could play guitar. So what we would do is once a week we'd go into so there were two churches. Okay, there was the old church and there was the new church.
Right.
And so the old church was used for the school, but it was also used as the Spanish church for the people who spoke Spanish. Yeah. While everybody else went to the new church. Anyway, we would go to the old church and he would play the guitars and we would do sing-alongs. But for some reason, he was like, okay, we're not going to start until you're all quiet and still. So this is a class of about 20 kids, and he's waiting for every single one of them to not move and not say a word. And basically, we didn't sing that day. But it's like, you're a kid, like you said, Sierra. What do you expect? If he would just started playing and getting us involved, we would have started singing on the entire time, and have fun. Yeah. But he wanted us to wait first. He wanted to be a disciplinarian. And stupid ass. Yeah. He got paid to do nothing. So.
And I one thing I do remember is like, because I was always labeled as a misbehaving child. And I really wasn't. Again, I was just a kid. And even then, like, I just like.
Sure you weren't.
Truly, like I either would just like sit quiet. I wouldn't like to participate. I was very, very shy. I was misbehaving for being shy. And I remember my racist ass kindergarten teacher, Miss Knight. I'm sure that bitch is deep in a grave somewhere. Fuck that lady. She was so mean. A majority of her class was black, and she picked on every single one of us, and she was awful. And she would constantly, because we had like little like red, yellow, green, yellow, red. For like, you know, our name would be the green if we did great the whole day, yellow if it was like and then red if we were just bad the whole day. My card was always either in red or yellow for no fucking reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one time she, the fact I can remember this, I fucking hate that lady. She pulled me aside once, because I wrote my fives wrong, even though my fives looked fucking fine.
Mm-hmm.
She was mad at how I was writing my fives. The fives, the finished product of the five looked great, but the way I would write them, she hated so much. And so she gave me homework to write my fives. And I remember I came back the next day with 2 pages full of fives, and I gave it to her. And she was like, all right, these look great. How did you write it? And so I'd go and write the 5. And she's like, you're not writing how you're supposed to. Didn't your father help you? Oh, wait, never mind.
What the
Right.
fuck?
Which at the time, I lived with my father. He was the only parent in the house at that time.
Wow.
Yeah, so fuck Miss Knight. But like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Again, this is kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
You're an old batty bitch, like, and you're bullying a kindergartner. That's crazy. And so the fact that these kids are given, you know, these labels so early on,
Yeah,
is ridiculous. And so when I saw that part in the movie, I was just like, leave them kids alone. The fact that I was defending white kids is crazy. But I was like, leave them kids alone. They're fucking.
yeah.
They're little tiny little inner city kids. Leave them alone.
Yeah.
So what if they got no daddy? And you're a present father in your kid's life, and you don't know what they could look like right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have old pictures of your kids in your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, shut the fuck up. I was so mad.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
pissed
we
me
kind of
off.
learned what kind of father Harry Belafonte is.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One more thing about this
Yes.
that I like.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, I just had it in my brain.
Mhm.
What we were just talking about, inner city kids. Ah!
Can I bring up the black?
Yeah, go.
Oh my god, so fuck this black scent, dude. Like, and the thing that pisses me off, I think, the most about this black scent is that no other white character in this movie has it other than John fucking Travolta.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the thing is like, have you ever seen John Travolta angry in movies?
Yes.
Because he kind of carries the same accent. Like when he's angry.
No.
You don't think so?
Well,
I mean,
okay,
maybe.
okay.
I know he tries in this movie,
Mhm.
but I think it's more. It's not when he's angry.
Mhm.
It's like when he's more
It's
calm.
not when he's angry because
Yeah.
people are worse at accents when they're angry.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah,
That's
this fucking guy. Again, no other white person in this movie
No, they don't.
has a black scent. And at first I was like, maybe I'm the racist one. Because he sounds black. But he's a white man portraying a lower class
Mm-hmm.
person.
Yeah.
Right? So of course not all black people are lower class. Not everyone with the black scent is lower class. Obviously, right? So I literally was racking my brain like the entire movie because I was like, is it racist that I think that this accent is like fucked up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm not fucking racist because I went on the letterbox. Almost every like half star rating was like, what the fuck is his accent, dude? It is awful. It's almost as awful as his fucking hair dye job. It was terrible. And like the many times I heard this man go, motherfucker, like it sounded because like and then
He's not in a movie with Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
Anymore.
Right. And I think that's what pisses me off the most, right? I think he really was trying to do a Sam L impression because I've heard white people do black scents, right? This one seemed like he was impersonating someone, not just a general people, someone specific.
Yeah.
And who that person was someone he just did a fucking film with a year before.
Yeah, Samuel L.
Yeah.
Fiction.
Oh my God. Like I literally at some point, I shit you not, I thought he was going to be like, English motherfucker, do you speak it? Like I really was so waiting on that because he sounded like he was trying to do an impression of him and it was bad. It was really, really bad.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like anytime he said motherfucker, it sounded like, it sounded like a chicken. Like a cuckoo clock. Like it had that bounce of like motherfucker. Like, and it was not good. However, oh fuck, what was that one line he said where he had the gun in the car? get in the fucking truck or something like that.
Oh, it was like getting the motherfucking it was like motherfuck goddamn truck.
Get in the goddamn motherfucking truck. That's what it was. I think that's what it was. And
I think it was like it sounded unnatural.
It sounded so unnatural, but the bounce he had to it, I was like, I'm gonna do that too. Because he also had his gun like high up in the air, like pumping his arm, sort of. And he's like, get in the goddamn motherfucking truck. I liked that. Mm-hmm. That sounded good to me.
Okay.
Every fucking thing else was bad.
Okay.
Was very, very bad. One line I hated, not for the blackcent, just because it was awful, is when he's in the payphone talking to his wife.
What the fuck?
This is after they've been separated because of the eviction.
Yeah.
And he has Harry Belafonte hostage. And he's
in a phone booth.
And he's
with Harry Belafonte.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's on the phone with his mother-in-law answers, and she fucking hates him, which is a common trope. And she's like, who is it? And he's like, who you think it is? And she just hands the phone over to her daughter, his wife. And he's like, how you doing? And she's like, I miss you. And he goes, yeah, I'm horny too, baby.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's Kelly Lynch.
Which I guess could be a commentary on the hypersexualization of black people, but I don't fucking think it is. I think it's just a bad line.
Well, I mean, I think it tells you something about his character, which is, he's a hard worker. He tries to do good by his family, but he's not the best educated.
He's not.
And that happens. That can happen regardless of race.
Right.
So, I think he's also just a little just plain stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I'm still so fucking hung up on the blackcent really quick. Just really quick. Because literally he could have done any fucking accent. Any accent. My dude could have done a Southern bumpkin accent if you really, really wanted to.
I think that would have been better.
It would have been fucking better. It would have made, now I want to say it would have made sense, but it just would have probably looked better. It would have looked better for the film, but instead we have this one white man in the entire movie with a blackcent.
Well, can we talk about another character?
Can we talk about Stanley?
Not yet.
No? Oh, no.
That's not who I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about the beggar at the toy shop.
Yes! Oh, I forgot about him. He's like, I was asking for some gas money.
Yeah, and so
hostile.
He's a skinny white guy. He doesn't have a shirt.
Yes.
But he does have a do-rag on.
Yes.
And he asked the little kid if he has any spare change. And then John Travolta is like, get out of here. And he's like, man, I was just asking, trying to get money for some gas, man. That's all I was doing.
Like, just trying to get some gas money. Hostile. That hostile was funny.
Yeah.
I like that line a lot.
Daniel, you want to say something?
Well, another thing about this movie I thought was pretty good.
Okay.
I don't know if it did the best, but it talks about circumstance, and that's something that white people hate talking about. White people are always like, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. The system is fine. You're just not working hard enough. And this movie is like, that's not always the case. Sometimes circumstances are greater than the affect you more than the amount of work you can do. And that reminds me of a movie I really like too called Monster, with freaking, oh my gosh, what is her name? Is it?
Yeah.
No, no.
South African, right?
Charlize Theron, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like her, yeah.
And other lady who played in Casper, and
Christina Ricci?
Yes. That one's about a serial killer.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that one.
Got it.
You know that one.
Sorry, yes, I do. Yeah, sorry, I took a second.
Which I might pick.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's very, very good.
It's very good, very rough, but very good.
Eileen Wuornos.
What?
Eileen Wuornos,
The director?
who the movie's about, or
Yes.
who was inspired by.
Yes.
Yeah. But the point of that movie, I think, and I'll talk about it more when we watch that movie if we do. Like part of it is circumstance, I believe. And that some things are just unfair.
Mm-hmm.
But also because the system is unfair. Like, and everyone's like, why don't you just get another job, man? Why don't you? And he's literally, it shows him endlessly trying
In the unemployment office, like trying to get
in
jobs.
the unemployment office,
Mm-hmm.
like endlessly, and applying for a lot of jobs.
Well, one of the things he says is, all the jobs up there are for minimum wage,
Yes.
and I'm not a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God,
Just
just
fuck
nowadays,
Yeah.
there are so many minimum wage jobs,
Mhm.
and looking for a job, they ask for impossible standards, but they also ask for incredibly low pay
Yeah.
that doesn't pay anybody's bills, and this is what they expect people, starting people to earn,
Right.
and it's fucking maddening.
It is.
Because these corporations, they just don't want to pay a living wage,
Right.
but they also want more and more and more of your money,
Mhm.
which is why people can't buy homes anymore. They can only rent,
Right.
and we are now living in a cyberpunk dystopia. So,
Which
Yes.
another part of this movie that I think doesn't quite get right.
mhm.
Maybe.
Well, this was also back in the 90s too,
Yeah.
so it wasn't nearly as bad,
Right.
but it still was bad. So,
That's weird sound. Sorry. I guess I don't know if it does. I haven't thought about it enough to make a statement on it yet. But
okay.
I think this movie focuses more on race than capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and I think most people would agree. I could be wrong,
Mhm.
but capitalism is the reason for most U.S. racism.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the heart of it, and from the beginning,
Yeah.
like before we even had capitalism set in place specifically, or from what I understand, like when the Pilgrims came over, there was still racism, obviously.
Yeah. Like what is it? Capitalism benefits from racism. And,
Yes.
and vice versa. Like they're very much like two sides of the same coin in a sense.
Well, it's all about one group exploiting another group.
Exactly.
Yes. And almost like, I don't know if this is the way it works, but in my mind, this is how it works. If you start off, your race starts off as the lower class,
Mm-hmm.
that's never gonna swap.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And that's how it did in the US.
Mhm.
One group, which was the white people, had all the connections with each other, had all the resources, and that's never changed.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I mean, it changed some, but you know what I'm saying?
But
Overall,
it hasn't.
So back before the 60s,
Mhm.
There were a lot of public services available to
Right.
people. Well, not really. They were available to white people.
Right.
Mhm.
And then ethnic minorities wanted access to those too.
Mm-hmm.
And they started
They fought for it, they fought, so they could only have be given to white people and not other people. Or they could only be given to white people but not anybody else.
Mhm.
But then that got turned around with the end of segregation.
Mhm.
And then what happened then? Everything got privatized.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, we became more we're fine being socialists,
Mhm.
but only with white people.
Mm.
But as when we have to bring other people in, or of different skin tones,
Mhm.
well, no, that's when we have to privatize.
Mm. That's
when we,
schools right now.
Yeah. So,
yeah. One more thing I wanted to say
Mhm.
on that note. On the note of capitalism as well. I heard this in a podcast. I don't remember which podcast it was exactly.
Okay.
Forgive me. It could have been, my gut wants to say, I listened to one episode, and it shows you how much of a piece of shit I am. Anyways, one episode of this podcast called White Homework, which I thought was a really good episode. I should listen to more. But anyways, it was talking about how, like, what people think about reparations and how the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusivity, has had so much white pushback, and basically it's been abolished now.
Yeah.
As of 2024.
Yeah.
But they said very aptly, I think, is that like, this is a paraphrase, but fairness might hurt, like, because it is unfair to the current generation. Like just so like the with the college thing, for picking black students. Affirmative action. That's technically, if you look at it in an isolated place, it's technically not fair, because you're picking someone based on something they have no control over, the color of their skin. But if you look at the history of other advantages that they've had, then it's completely fair. And I think that's just something really cool that I like to think about. And I don't know if I'm bringing that up in the right terms, but I think that's something really cool. And it helps me understand, and it helps me defend that point whenever people are like, well, racism against white people is racism too. It's like, you're not wrong, but you're wrong completely.
Yeah. Anyways. This reminds me of a tweet that's been floating around for a while, where there's a tweet that this guy is saying, like, oh yeah, by 20 whatever, white people are going to be a minority in the United States. And then the response is, why are minorities treated badly in the United States?
And I also think about that a lot too, because these bitches are fucking clutching their pearls, scared out of their fucking pants over some shit, and it's just like, why are you so scared?
Yeah.
What's the problem, babes? I thought this was all in our heads, and I thought that we were just becoming, like, we're making ourselves victims of the system. But what's the real issue?
Yeah.
What are you afraid of?
Well, back when COVID happened here in Florida, so many people try to get on unemployment benefits here in Florida. Yes. And it was a serious issue. So because, and so what happened was a Republican politician here in Florida, he was angry at the unemployment system here in Florida because, like, his family members couldn't get the unemployment benefits that they needed for COVID. Right. But the thing is the Republicans designed the unemployment system here in Florida to be impossible to force people to go to work, no matter what the circumstances are. Right. So, yeah.
Don't you just love when that happens?
Yeah. Well, I love it when, labor asserts itself. Right. Yeah.
It's so, like, we have to...
show how much power we have, despite the corporate executives sucking all the money from our labor.
But it's just like the people at the bottom always have to suffer the worst before the people at the top even, like, get a paper cut.
Well, that's why workers of the world unite. What do you have to lose but your chains? Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, but okay. So speaking of that, something about this movie. What genre would you say this movie is? You don't have to think about it too hard.
Sierra's palm is planted firmly over her eyes.
I don't want to think about this movie anymore. Genre.
Well, the reason why I asked, is because if you're a white supremacist, is this a horror movie for you?
This is like a psychological, like, horror dystopia. Okay. You know what you meant? The second the movie started, I was like, oh, this is like a utopia for me. This is, like, so sick. And then I got so angry.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Gran Torino.
Okay.
Racist ass movie, even though it pretends it's not.
Okay.
Yes.
Tired of people saying it's a good movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's great.
Oh, the
Clint Eastwood.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Fucking yeah.
Tired of people saying that it's not, even though he does stick up for minorities.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It's a white savior movie.
Yeah, it's a white savior movie, but it's also, but I don't see it so much as racist as it's like one generation against another.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's fair.
yeah, that's
Because I
Clint
guess-
Eastwood for you. You know,
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up.
Okay, no, you're
It
fine.
felt like a racist movie to me.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Anyways, sorry.
Question
Uh-huh.
for the table.
Okay.
So we are all aware that within storylines, at the end, someone learns a lesson,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
Can I ask
Uh-huh.
with seriousness?
Okay. Maybe not.
What lesson was given and who learned it? Because all I know
Uh-huh.
is that the last 20 minutes of this film pissed me the fuck off. Because literally, I have no idea what I was supposed to gather at the end of this at all.
I can tell you.
Can I mansplain it?
Well, I can tell you very simply. The lesson is racism is bad.
Yeah.
That's a lesson. You know who learned it? John Travolta.
Whoa.
Because, okay, so one of the
That's
things
not
is,
what I was going to say.
but the thing is, so I think we have to bring up Black Lives Matter now.
Sure.
Because you said something, you were talking before about how you've seen this all before.
Yes.
You know, because you're an African American person. So it's obvious to you. And, but I think the Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter movement has really,
Amplified?
well, it's amplified, attention to it.
Yeah.
And that's because of smartphones. You know, because people can record the cops, you know, doing their bullshit. You know, the cops being bastards. People can record it now.
I also love in this movie that ACAB is still alive and well.
Yeah.
Even in this society, ACAB.
Well, it was that way back then.
Yes.
So I think I mentioned it before on the show, but I'll mention it again because it's relevant. Dan Carlin from Hardcore History.
Yeah.
He was a news reporter in LA during the 90s. And what he had to say about the riots was, you know, the day before they happened, he was like, I think he went to like a theater or somewhere. He watched it. And then on the news, the verdict, the police got acquitted.
Yeah.
So he didn't know about it. So he came out and the entire streets were like still and quiet. And he had no idea what was going on. And it wasn't until he went to his house and they called him and they're like, hey, you gotta get back, you know, to the news station now. You know, all this stuff is going on. And what he said about it is that before the riots happened, you know, people were like, you know, if you were a news reporter, you knew this stuff.
Right.
Because people getting harassed by the LAPD, they're calling into the newspapers to try to get them to cover these stories. But they're like, well, do you have any evidence? Do you have any witnesses? Because they need that, you know, for journalistic integrity.
Right.
Well, these victims didn't. And so it's like, well, I'm sorry, we can't help you. So he's like, yeah, if you were there, you would know that this stuff was happening and that the tensions were rising.
Right.
So all that stuff was happening. It's just you couldn't record it and you couldn't show it to everybody.
Right.
Like you can nowadays.
Right.
So, yeah.
2 points. Lesson learned at the end was Harry Belafonte, who, okay, this is what I'm going to describe the movie as. Again, Harry Belafonte is kind of like role-playing as a rich white man, right? Kind of like that's what the roles are. So in this instance, the metaphorical rich white man learns that racism exists, basically. I think that's basically it. Racism exists.
Well,
he's not able to get an ambulance out there to save. John Travolta is not able to get an ambulance out to Harry Belafonte because he says ambulances don't come to this part of town.
Yeah.
However, John Travolta starts shooting through windows and alarms start going off and police show up in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Harry Belafonte learns that, that I think what he learns is that it cements in his mind that John Travolta's character is a good person who's willing to help people. And that racism is real and it did affect him. And that he tries to kind of like pay it off in the end.
Well, that's what I wanted to bring up, is that throughout the entire movie, Harry Belafonte's character, he thinks only in terms of racism and money.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know, he has a wealthy business. He lives in a gated mansion. He's part of this charity gala that, for his wife.
Yeah.
There's even like, so in this movie, it's a parallel movie. We go back and forth between Harry Belafonte's life and John Travolta's life so that we can see the differences between the two.
Yeah.
All throughout the movie. And one of those differences, Harry Belafonte and his wife are talking about how like she's going to be spending his money. And he's like, oh, am I going to get another heart attack? And so that's where the heart attack was set up.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, I guess, he flirts about it.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for him to spend a lot of money and he's okay with it.
Right.
And he also has the business deal on Sunday that he wants to get to.
Right.
So he's still in terms thinking about money. And then even after the end, when John Travolta dies, he visits his wife and gives her an envelope and says, yeah, this is how much money your husband was asking for me. I put in a little more and I just wanted to help you out. And she hands it back and he's like, well, what do you want? Do you want more money? And she says something like, well, how much money do you think, he's worth? So he's worth more than the money.
Right.
So, we're talking about socioeconomics here of races. And so there's a social aspect and there's also the economic aspect. And when you think just in terms of, what a person is worth, that can lead to racism as well. That leads to othering of people. Right. They're not people, they're a resource. And it's going on right now, and it's fucking terrible.
Because like black people, you used to literally have a price tag. So, so it's like...
Well, this is why, the corporate elite are very glad that abortion is so tough now, so women can be forced to have children, so there can be a cheap labor market.
Exactly.
Even though they don't want to pay anything, for housing, food, education, health.
Definitely not education, because the dumber they are, the more likely they are to vote Republican. Sorry, not dumber, but less educated.
Yeah.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
And if they score bad on all their tests, military is right there with a bag of hot food and be like, hey, baby.
Yeah.
I fucking hate this. I hate this so bad.
Well, that's why art is so important.
Exactly.
Such as cinema. And why talking about it is so important.
This dumb fucking movie. We are talking about some very important things that everyone should be, savvy on, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the only credit I'm giving this fucking movie.
Okay. At least it starts a conversation. Okay.
One thing I wanted to talk about the police. There's a YouTube channel I started watching called That Dang Dad.
Okay.
It's a little cringy, but it's also honestly really heartfelt and pretty cool. And it's about this dad who became like a dad when he was like 36. Kind of talking about how his life changed. He used to be conservative, evangelical, he was a cop, and now he's not like any of those things. And he talks like very honestly and openly about his experiences, which is really cool. And what I think is really useful about him is because of how honest he is, and he's not afraid to talk about those things because he wants them to be useful to other people. He has an episode about how being a cop changed his mindset on people and race and stuff, and he tells some pretty like intense stories of things that he had done that were questionable, and well, not questionable, wrong, but he kind of he breaks it down really simply to cops think in terms of good guys and bad guys, and people are not good or bad. It is not a binary. It is complex. But being a cop made him compartmentalize good people and bad people. And so if you hung out with bad people, you were a bad person. And because being a cop, you don't have a lot of resources. Well, you have a lot of resources, but like it's a tough job. But it's a tough job because it's a broken system as well.
Yeah, they don't train the cops in the way that they need to be trained to deal with the issues that they have to deal with.
Right.
Yes.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
One of my classmates here at the film school, he originally wanted to join the police force, but they wouldn't take him. And the reason why was because he never served in the military. So they want people who are trained in the military who already know how to use weapons. That's their priority.
Yeah.
Now, I've been on subreddits that talking about the military, and they're like, basically, they don't like to be compared to cops because they're like, well, we have regulations against shooting people. We have, fire discipline, basically. Yeah. Cops don't. Right. Which kind of seen in this movie. Yes. So, yeah.
Can we talk about Stanley like really quick?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I just fucking love him. He's my favorite character.
MVP of the movie?
MVP of the fucking movie.
Okay.
Stanley is the audience.
Okay.
Because John Travolta, he has no plan. As he's doing this entire thing, he has no fucking plan. He might have thought he had one, but he didn't think about what the alternatives could be if his plan didn't go through. And his plan didn't go through, so now he's just kind of fucking just dragging Harry Belafonte around the town, making him eat at these little hangouts and being like, oh, do you see how hard it is to be a white man? But then we have Stanley. And Stanley is John Travolta's character's homeless friend.
Yeah.
Fucking love him. Yeah. And I don't know if he's supposed to be like the babbling homeless man.
Well, I think, okay, so I'm
very confused with it.
He's played by Tom Bauer.
Yes.
Who was also in Die Hard 2 and also The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call of New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Gotta watch that movie soon. So I think what it is like, I think he's supposed to be a little older than John Travolta. So, he's basically playing an older person of a minority, who knows how bad the system is. Yes. Maybe a little off his rocker because of it. Yeah. Just trying to get by and just never wants to be in trouble. And so, he's an utter coward, but it has allowed him to survive this long. Yeah. So it's okay.
Which honestly, the kooky sage type is kind of a trope that is in movies. So I now I see it. Okay. I got it. But yeah, Stanley's my favorite. He's constantly like telling John Travolta's character, like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Do you even have a plan? If you don't have a plan, let this bitch go. He won't say anything. He like just leave him alone and then go find a job. He's like, you will be fine if you let him go right now. Right now, like get the tape off of his arms, get the gag out of his mouth. Get him home. Like, just leave him alone.
Well, he doesn't even care. Like, he's like, as long as it's got nothing to do with him. Exactly. I just don't want anything to do with it.
Exactly.
Don't bring him in my house because then I'll be an accessory and I don't want to be an accessory.
Exactly.
And it's the next day is his son's birthday, and he's like, "Hey, will you watch him?" He's like, "No,
like, hell
if you leave him here, I'm gonna let him go."
Exactly, which I love. I fucking love Stanley because he's the only bitch with a working noggin in this whole goddamn movie.
Well, that's because he knows how corrupt the system is.
Exactly,
and he's gotten by just laying low.
Exactly, and
it's like the that quote from Michael from The Office: "Don't ever." Under any circumstances, ever, at all, do or say anything to anybody, ever. That's Stanley.
Like, he's so fucking sick, bro. I love him so much. And the thing with John Travolta's character is that he's just fucking stupid. And not in a way of him being ignorant, not in a way of him being, like, lower class. He literally is just fucking stupid. And he mentions his pride multiple times. And he's extremely prideful. And that's the thing that gets him into this fucking mess in the first place. And he just, like...
Well, the thing that gets him in the mess is the system is just against him.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned before. Only minimum wage jobs.
It's that... But I will validate that point, though.
Okay.
I would say it is that... But it's also pride because it's said in the movie multiple times, and also he doesn't let his wife get a job.
That is true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is what makes them get evicted, basically.
Yeah, but that's a whole thing too. Like nowadays, you have to have a 2-person income for a household.
Yeah.
Unless you're super wealthy, which. Like, not even middle-class people can get by on a single income nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah, his character it pisses me off the entire time. He's so fucking stupid. And Stanley is, like, acknowledging that. He's agreeing with it. He's the audience. He's watching him do all this stuff, and he's like, you're fucking dumb. You're gonna get everybody around you killed. Or worse. Whatever's worse than being killed. But, like, it's just constant. The entire, anytime they interact with each other. At the very end, I was like, if he gets Stanley in trouble, I'm jumping to the screen and beating this man's ass myself. Like,
Stanley is too good not to get in trouble.
Exactly.
He knows when to run.
The way
runs.
He got through that fence, and I said, keep going. Do not look back.
Yeah.
Save yourself.
Yeah.
Because fucking John Travolta's character's dumb ass. Of course, he shoots to get a
hold on.
This is so bad.
Hold on.
So bad.
Let's be clear about something.
What?
He does exactly what the police tell him. But
he could have fucking dumped the gun.
You are right. You are correct.
Yes.
And he is stupid.
Yes.
But on the other hand, he did exactly what he was told to do.
Yes.
And it didn't fucking matter.
Exactly. Which, again, is an issue.
Yeah. There's, I gotta look it up real quick.
Yeah.
Hold on.
That shit pissed me off so bad, yo.
It reminds me of, and we didn't watch it for the podcast, but we watched it. Me and Sierra watched it for, I talked about it on Real Movie Lovers, hosted by Lisa Waring. Predators. Lawrence Fishburne's character.
Yeah.
I think it is like a trope, specifically about Black people, potentially, of like the wise, but like
cuckoo sage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where he is a scavenger and he survives by laying low completely. Just wanted to, I don't know. I just thought it.
So I just want to bring up, and I do when we talk about this stuff, is the shooting of Daniel Shaver. Do you guys know about that?
What year was that?
No.
It was in 2016. It happened to a white guy.
Yes.
Daniel Shaver is a white guy.
Yes.
And he was at a hotel.
Yes.
And he had a BB rifle.
Yep.
An air rifle. And then somebody from the hotel called saying that he brought a rifle in and that he was like pointing it outside and stuff. So the police came by, and Daniel Shaver and his other guests, they were drinking, and the police were there, and they were like, they gave them all these terrible commands that were tough for him to follow.
Yeah.
Like, get on your hand, get on your knees. Now lace your fingers behind your head. Now crawl backward, but don't turn around.
Right.
And they tried to follow it, but it was very
hard to follow.
Yeah, it was very confusing, and also, they were inebriated, and they shot him.
Yeah,
they shot him dead in the middle of the hotel room. They were trying to do what they were trying to do what the police were telling them to do. They were trying to cooperate, and they fucking shot him anyway.
Yeah.
So, that happens in this movie.
Yeah.
He does exactly what the police tells him to do, but he still gets shot for it.
Yeah.
I just want to bring it up.
Anyone being shouted at by the police is not going to be in their regular thinking brain.
Right.
Yes, that is true.
Regardless of inebriation. So, just another point of...
And he's a white guy.
Yeah.
So more and more, this is kind of my point about all this, is that race is mattering less and less.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to belittle, what's happening with African Americans. Right. It's just... oppression and exploitation is abound, and it's affecting more and more people.
Right. Which then kind of circles back to my point in the beginning of this episode, that race was not a necessary factor in this movie at all. It was all about power and oppression and the rich and the poor.
Fair.
But let me ask you something.
Okay.
Because, I was brought up differently.
Yes.
Okay. And who is it? Bill Maher, he got in trouble with something.
Fuck Bill Maher.
Okay. You're right nowadays, but
yes.
What he said was that he doesn't see color. Okay. And that's how I was taught how to be. Don't look at a person's color.
Right.
You should accept people for who they are. But he got a lot of shit for saying that.
Yes.
And what somebody brought up was there was a reality show where several white women said that.
Yes.
And the black woman's response was, well, if you don't see color, then you don't see me.
Right.
So,
are you wondering what I think about that?
Yes.
Yeah. So the whole I don't see color thing is fucking bullshit to me.
Okay.
It's very frustrating because it's like saying that you're like willfully going about the world like ignorant of things that are happening, or ignorant of the fact that there are racially charged offenses being committed against people of color. Okay. Right? Because in white society, you really don't have to worry about that. Because it literally is a thing of like, are you good or bad? Or like, do you have this amount of money or not? With people of color, it's completely different. Because we're seen from our color first. And there's already, we're already predisposed to all these different, what's the word I'm looking for?
Prejudices?
Prejudices, yes.
Okay.
So before anyone knows our name or our face, they see our skin and they already think of what they think of us. And we have to go through the world knowing that about ourselves.
Okay.
And we operate in this world completely different than white people. Where we have to consider our own race and we have to consider everyone else's race wherever we go, whatever we do, for jobs, for phone calls, to get insurance, for all these different things. And white people, again, like I said, they don't have to worry about that. So for them to be like, well, I don't see color, it's like for you don't have to. Okay. But you have to be mindful that everyone else worries about color, because historically, white people have made color an issue. So for now, people to be like, "Oh, I don't see it at all." That's not good enough. Okay, that is not good. Okay, it's not a good thing to say. I do not think. Okay. In the sense of like I don't judge people by the color of their skin. If you're using I don't see color in that sense, that's completely fine. Okay, but a lot of times people aren't using that phrase for that matter. Okay. They're saying they're mostly saying like, oh, like race isn't that big of a deal. Like, race isn't that big of a deal. Like everyone's just catastrophizing everything. Black people don't have it that hard. Asian people don't have it that hard. Hispanic people don't have it that hard. They're just.
You're saying it's a dog whistle.
It is a dog whistle.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I don't like that. Okay. Personal. And I have a white mama who says it a lot, and that pisses me off so bad. Continue.
I was gonna say another reason I don't see color can be, from what I've understood, is that it can be erasing of Black culture.
Well, that's another kind of issue
Yeah.
to discuss. Is I think about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is I guess the best word to say it is assimilate,
Mm-hmm.
where with these racial subcultures,
Mm-hmm.
Should they remain limited? Should aspects of them become mainstream or not? Like, should we? Because I think about the future
Mm-hmm.
of how this is going to be all the time.
Right.
And that's kind of how I was taught, was not to see color, and that don't judge people.
Right.
But also, like, I guess subliminally, what I always thought American society should be is where we share culture, and there's no racial prejudice or oppression based on that. But a lot. I understand that minorities like their subcultures.
Yeah.
So the question I'm asking is, can we have a primary society that is diverse,
and shared,
but also keep racial subcultures?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I also think about that often sometimes.
Okay.
Just because when different parts of different cultures are shared, there's always somebody who brings, and I'm going to use this as like a metaphor, someone brings potato salad with raisins to the potluck, and then they'll say that they made the jambalaya, and it's just, it's, when culture is shared, sometimes people will be like, oh, that's so cool. Why did I think of that? Maybe I did. And then appropriation happens.
Yeah.
And then so it's hard to get back and to reclaim that when the vast majority of people who are appropriating it have spread it even further for further appropriation. So it's hard to sort of group it and then also have individual. Yes, Dana.
I don't think it's possible in a capitalist society.
Okay.
Because what you're saying is because, like, one of the Jenners, right? Or one of the Jenners with quote unquote boxer braids.
Oh, Kylie.
Okay. So Kylie.
Oh, there's also Kylie, and then Kim did it too, and then Chloe.
So the Jenners are white, and they had their hair put into cornrows. And they called them not cornrows, but boxer braids.
Okay.
So they were assimilating, or not assimilating, what's the word?
Appropriating.
Thank you. Appropriating Black culture for their gain. And for their profit.
Okay. For
attention and for profit. So in this society where attention is money, and so that's part of the capitalism culture is attention, right? Like TikTok is attention is also almost equivalent with wealth.
Yeah.
So if you appropriate something, you're getting attention typically. So if the motive is not to get attention, but to just, I like this hairstyle, I'm gonna wear it.
Just to appreciate.
Just to appreciate and just to express yourself, then maybe it could be a shared culture, kind of like Star Trek or something, like a ideal culture where everyone is able to share and everyone is able to wear like saris or like Indian clothing if you're not Indian or whatever, just because you're not benefiting from it,
right,
other than you just like how it looks. You're not
exploiting it.
Right.
Okay.
Like once people start to see cultures and appreciate them and not just see them for profit, then maybe. Because that's another. I'm mad that I have to work on Juneteenth, bitch. Why the fuck? first of all, majority of the people who get off on Juneteenth are fucking white people anyway. Bitch, that's my holiday. What? That drives me crazy. And people, when they're talking about making it like a national holiday, they're like, oh, well, it's just for appreciation. And this is a cultural event. And da-da-da. Then why me, bitch? The culture? Am I working on that day? Why am I not getting money out the wazoo on that day?
Well, I mean, holidays in American society is terrible anyway.
True, yes. But they made it such a big thing.
Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving, people work. Like, so far this year, the only holiday where I've seen stores closed was Easter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Sorry, I'm just kind of backtracking a little bit.
Okay.
If someone was to wear like an Indian garment or something, even in this sort of utopian society, without knowing the culture, though, I still feel like that would be almost wrong.
Yes.
But I'm not sure if it would be or not.
Because in order to appreciate something, you have to learn about it. And you have to understand the intricacies of it. And you have to understand the history of it. And so it would be like you like waking up in the morning and being like, let me put on my dashiki and my kufi. And then expecting everyone to be cool about that. And then when someone like asks you about it and you're just like, oh, I just thought it'd be cool. It's kind of fucked up.
Okay.
It reminds me of a time, I hope this doesn't bother Alice. But there was a time when I was just looking for, as I do often, and let me know if what time is it?
We're probably over time.
5 minutes to 10.
5, 10. Okay.
I already started the story. I'm going to finish it real quick.
Finish the story.
I always look for Creative Commons music that anyone can use for anything. I found on YouTube a Kaddish, which is a Jewish song often played for funerals, and it's a ceremonial song. I loved the way it sounded. I didn't know anything about it. I loved the way it sounded, and I showed it to Alice. Alice is Jewish of background, and Alice was like kind of like, you know, really nice about it, but like kind of like, you should know what this song is if you use it in something.
Right.
And I was like, oh, why? It's just a song. I really like it. And Alice was like, just look it up and learn about it, and then see if you want to use it for whatever you want to use it for. And they kind of was like, opened my eyes a little bit on that. I think that's a somewhat personal example.
Yeah, for sure. That's a perfect example.
Okay.
Yeah.
And answer my question.
Alright, cool.
Okay. We're gonna have to start wrapping up.
Okay.
So, final thoughts. Dan. I'll let Dan go.
Sorry.
Yes, no, that's fine. That's fine.
That's how we start with the...
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
Okay.
One more final thought on the colorblind issue. Again, I'm going to bring up that day and dad. People who don't understand racism fully think that it's an individual thing. So I'm prejudiced against you because of your skin. That's part of the colorblind thing. Most people generally aren't that. They don't actively make decisions based on people's skin purposefully. However, systems are racist. Yeah. Which you already know. Yes. So I don't think you are a colorblind person in that way at all. Okay. I think you're very aware of the systems, inequalities, and things like that. Yeah. So I don't think you have to worry about it, Steve. Yeah. Okay. But that's another thing that saying, oh, I'm colorblind doesn't account for. Usually they're colorblind for individuals, but they're not colorblind with systems.
Right. Yes. Okay. That's fair.
That was what I wanted. That was, yeah. Okay.
Is that your final point?
Oh, and the jockey. the jockey statue.
Oh my god.
We both laughed when we saw that.
The white horse jockey statue?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Daniel has a neighbor across the canal from him.
Oh, no.
That has one.
Oh, no.
Yes. And I noticed it when I moved in with him. And I was like, what if I just like go take it? Because it's right outside their fence. I could grab it. It's just right there. I remember I pointed it out to Daniel and he was like, that's like, I don't know why that's bad, but it seems bad. So I explained it to him and he was like, oh shit, that's really not good. So when I saw the white horse jockey, I was like, what if I what if I buy it?
But that's one of the things I love about this movie is that it shows those tiny details of like systemic racism and that low level societal racism. That's what I love about this movie.
So good.
So Okay, Sierra.
Final thoughts. Not my favorite.
Okay.
Not my favorite, but to my girlies who are of color, but also have this is not towards you, Daniel. Don't worry. That have white boyfriends. If you want them to sort of understand what it's like to be of color in a white society, I guess you can show them this movie. It is tied to Quentin Tarantino, so they'll cream their pants about it regardless.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this. This movie was co-produced by Quentin Tarantino's production company, A Band Apart. Yes.
So like, have at it, have a good time. If you break up with him within a week, it's okay. He wasn't the one. I did not like this movie, but I appreciate Steven for showing it to me, even though I was very mad at him in the beginning, and I think I said "fuck you." I apologize for that.
You don't have to apologize. It's okay. It's okay.
I will never ever watch this movie ever again. If you don't want to watch the movie and you just want to see other people talk shit about it, look at the Letterboxd reviews on it, because it is the funniest thing you'll probably read for the rest of your month. And is there anything else? Whatever the fuck box day they put in John Travolta's hair, whoever was in charge of his hairstyling needs to be put in prison ASAP. And that's it.
Okay, so you said you'll never watch this movie again.
Absolutely not.
Daniel, would you ever watch this movie again?
Maybe.
Okay.
And I would recommend it to some people that I know.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing?
Oh, no. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Real quick.
Okay.
This might fall through, but I tried to buy the script, the John Travolta's script online on eBay. I looked up the script for this movie, trying to look at the actual transcript of the words that they were saying, and on eBay there's a script that was John Travolta's first revised edition of the draft of the script, and so I bought it for like $60.
Okay.
And I hope it's the real deal, and if it is, I'm gonna make a video about it probably.
Okay. So my final thoughts. I like the idea of this movie. Because one of the things is, I'm what?
You're a gimmick guy.
I am a gimmick guy, but I like the Twilight Zone, and this is a total Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the classic Twilight Zone, and the thing is, Rod Serling's Twilight Zone, it can never be recreated
Ever.
There have been several revivals. There was one in the 80s. Yes. There was one in the 2000s, and then there was one recently.
There was one with Jordan Peele.
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
And all of them haven't lasted long.
Right.
None of them have lasted as long as the original Twilight Zone.
Right.
But I also think that's because the Twilight Zone just hit that very sweet spot.
Yes.
Where it needed to talk about the societal changes that needed to happen, that were just fucking necessary. And because it was the intersection of, racism, but also the Cold War. So, nuclear annihilation.
Yeah.
And also feminism.
Yes.
The 60s, and I love stuff from the 60s because of it, because it was just that sweet spot where, so much was changed. And so, we have had progress since then, which is why I think it is harder. So that's why I love this movie. But I also want to say, even though it's so tough to do Twilight Zone stuff, people who are inspired by that should still try it, is what I'm saying. So, yeah. So that's why I love this movie. And it's been living rent-free in my head for the past 35 years now. One of the reasons why I started this podcast was so I could specifically talk about this movie. And I fucking hate that so many other people have, talked about it before I could get the chance to, because now I feel like a hipster for White Man's Burden.
Oh! Sorry.
Okay. Yes, Daniel.
That was wonderful, Steve.
Thank you.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, the title of this movie, White Man's Burden.
Oh, yeah. I want to talk about that, too.
It was a poem, right?
Yeah, it's a poem by
Rudyard Kipling.
Yeah, Richard Kipling.
Rudyard Kipling.
Rudyard Kipling,
yes.
Yeah, it's a poem about the British Empire and how it is the duty of the British Empire and white Europeans to spread, civilization
Yeah.
to, people of color, basically.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely terrible. But yeah, it's absolutely terrible. But here's the thing. Okay, so like short digression.
Yes.
Okay. I know you guys are not going to get what I'm talking about, but that's okay.
Okay.
Surprise.
There's a tabletop RPG.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Mage: The Ascension.
Okay.
And what it's about is, very briefly, reality is malleable, so you can do magic to alter reality. Okay, think of it as like the Matrix.
Okay.
But the world is the Matrix, and we can bend things. We can change how reality works if we believe long enough.
Right.
So there are different factions that are fighting for the very nature of reality. This game came out in the early to mid 90s, and one of the factions is the technocracy. And the technocracy wants to get rid of magic and instead want to bring science, but they want to, so they're like the Men in Black, and they want to control everything and control media and so on and so forth. So that's technocracy. But on the other side is the traditions, and they're a group of different, more traditional magical thought. Like there are the Hermetic magics, and then you have like pagan practitioners, and then you have like African practitioners of magic. You have Asians who use martial arts to do magic, and you also have like churchgoers who believe in holy magic.
Right.
Okay. So when that game came out, the traditions were the heroes. Because, personal thought and personal expression, against the New World Order that's trying to make everything, one way. But here's the thing now, is that we now live in the age of QAnon.
Yeah.
And other people who don't, because they're fighting against the technocrats who believe in science. And technology?
Yep.
Okay, so here's the thing. There is a spin-off of this game called Mage Victorian Age. Okay, so it's during the Victorian Age, during this time of, colonialism and empire. And in the book, they say the technocracy is specifically the bad guy. But here's the thing. We watch Life of Brian. And so it brings up that scene where what did the Romans ever give us except roads and, education and, all that. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I'm a man who believes in the power of science, but I'm a terrible person for bringing that, to, societies with people of color. What am I going to do? I feel very torn by that. So.
It is interesting. It's either sorry, we can end whenever.
Okay.
I always think of what's the guy? Thomas Edison. Terrible person, did a lot of good.
Yeah.
Made a lot of good things that helped people.
Stole shit.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Terrible person.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
But he brought people together to create things for his gain. But those things like Steve Jobs, like terrible person, but made something. Steve Wozniak would have never made what he made without Steve Jobs.
Right.
As terrible as a person he was.
Well, what I'm saying is I believe in the power of science and technology, but I don't want to use it to oppress. So.
Right.
One other
That's
thing.
my belief.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
However, though,
Mm-hmm.
that also could also end up saving the human race or killing it. Kurt Vonnegut quote I like to quote is, "You can sometimes never tell in life a good thing from a bad thing."
Yeah, unintended consequences, which brings us to I think the third time I bring up the quote about the Zen master from Charlie Wilson's War. So I'll send you the YouTube link for it.
Okay.
But we gotta go. It's like
Yes.
Go.
okay.
I have
Thank
one
you.
more thing I can add.
Okay. I think you want to. It's me.
Generational trauma is also addressed in this movie.
Yes.
Yes, it is. I totally forgot about that.
Yes.
Before you go, a special thank you to our bestest friend of the show, Brian. Thank you, Brian, for supporting Your Movie, My Movie. Now, if any of you would like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/YourMovieMyMoviePodcast or leave us a review on whatever you're listening to us on. Thank you for listening and thank you for your support.
Also, to mention the fact that, and even in this society where white people are oppressed and the black people are the oppressors, white people do not have a derogatory term for themselves in this movie. There's no N-word for white people. Like I wanted John Travolta's character to be called a honky so bad. So bad. Give me a cracker one time. There's not one singular cracker in this film. And it's just like, of course, even in a made-up society, there still is no real way to oppress white people because it's impossible to think of a way to oppress white people because they're the oppressors. That is it. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you for that little dissertation about the H word and C word.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.